Yo, what's going on? It's your boy, Coach Paul, live and direct with the Becoming a Better You podcast. As you know, we come and just talk some real shit on this podcast. We come live and direct, giving tons of value on mindset, on fitness, on lifestyle, just making sure that anyone listening to this podcast gets value from the moment you step in the door. Now, I talk about this all the time on my social media and my YouTube. I only surround myself with solid individuals. I don't mess with no fakes. I don't mess with nobody that's with some nonsense, some BS, right? And I'm getting back to interviewing more people on this podcast because I can talk all day about how great my life is, but I want to show you guys other people that are also making big moves. And I got my boy Luke here, and I just want to do a quick introduction of Luke because me and Luke connected on Instagram. I love social media because you can connect with people. Luke's all the way on the East Coast, right? We connected on Instagram because of our homie Zune. We have a common friend, right? We connected on Instagram and we started, showing each other's pages love and showing love back and forth, chopping it up. And then I ended up going to an event in Miami. I didn't even know Luke was going. And I posted, I was at the airport halfway there, like I'm on my way to Miami to this event. And Luke hits me up. He's like, bro, you're going to that event in Miami? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm on my way there. I'm driving there right now. He's all, bro, let's meet up. He came and picked me up at the airport. It was swooped me up. Never even met the guy before. We just been chopped up on Instagram, and we've been homies ever since. And so, yeah, I just want to introduce you guys to my boy Luke. Luke, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, man. Let's go, brother.
Yeah, man. So, Paul, first and foremost, I appreciate you inviting me on your podcast. Grateful for the opportunity. Kind of like you hit on, from, the beginning, just, on Instagram, supporting each other, to Miami and throughout, ups and downs in life. We continue to stay connected, sometimes more than others, right? And what also is cool is, how you started the run with Zune and then I finished it with him. So I thought that was a really cool thing, how we kind of all connected there. But a brief introduction of myself, Luke Desrosiers, Instagram handle, I am Wakemaker. So Wakemaker is my brand and it's really myself, like how I believe to live, right? So been in the Navy now 17 years. So that's really kind of what started the Wakemaker brand as a whole. Primarily focused on operating small boats, navigation, and I took that and all of the things I've learned in the Navy, navigating, boats and ships in the Navy, and tried to really bring that towards navigating our, all of us through life, right? So that's really what it is. It just like a boat creates a wake in the ocean, we create wakes, when we impact others, and so yeah. So there's a lot of different types of things going on, and that's a brief intro for sure.
I love it. So as a wake maker, making wakes in the world, brother, not just on the boat, but in general, right? What are you up to right now? Like, tell everyone what you're up to. Tell them what you're doing. Tell them how how are you making wakes right now, other than speeding down the ocean way.
Yeah, so really, honestly, what's really been my focus lately is I've been doing this 100 burpee challenge. I'm on now. I think today might be day 73 that I'm doing, and that has been on my heart. That I have a very close connection with God, right? So I felt compelled by God to really put my focus on that. And I think sometimes, just like a lot of people can resonate, sometimes we get very caught up in the world and, views and engagement and, trying to be perfect and creating content. And I just kind of at one point decided to put a pause on that. And I just said, right now, I'm just going to, do this burpee challenge and, try to inspire people and connect with people and do them in random places and open up conversations. And, every single day I create these reels and I post them as I feel compelled to, and I, attach, a message to it. And every day I just follow what's on my heart, where to go or what style to post. So really that's been my main focus during that challenge. And through that, I've connected with so many amazing people. Some now have become clients, so that's cool. But just so many different people I've collabed with. I've done burpees with a police officer. I've done them, at Whole Foods. Just any type of place that you can think of. That's where I go. And I think for me, it's a big thing because sometimes how often people make that excuse where they don't think they have enough time in a day. You do 10 minutes of burpees. that's a pretty good workout. And I know, you and I, we crushed some burpees in Miami. So I know you're a fan of the burpees, right? So, and really fun fact is I hate burpees, right? That's why I kind of started doing them because of, I worked in prison for 4 years and I was on the CERT team, and my instructor would make us do them all the time. And I would puke every day doing them. So it was like my kryptonite. And I just taught myself to love what was painful to me, right? And that kind of brings us into, how we all should turn pain into purpose, so that's kind of really what's been my focus. And other than that, I'm still pushing on my Wake Maker brand. And just like anything else in life, man, there's a lot of ups and downs. I've had challenges with some of my vendors and designing, but it's coming along, and I have a really good, pump cover out right now. It's almost sold out. Really, I might have to do another drop for it. So that's cool. And that's just kind of a part of the brand. And another part of things that I've got going on is I got recruited to be a personal trainer at Crunch Fitness. So
nice.
Really wasn't, too interested in it. But again, I feel like God calls me in that direction. And sometimes I think that it's important for us to lean into what feels right in our hearts, right? And also stay away from what is, our hearts or our intuition is telling us not to go from, right? So when we really try to focus on tuning into that intuition, we start to see some, amazing things, and to be honest with you, and I don't even know if we've talked about this, right? But last year I tried to kill myself, not that long ago. And, life's hard, ups and downs, I pulled the trigger, and the gun didn't go off. Wow. And not too many people know about that. And I don't say that to look for pity, but we talk about men's mental health. And I know through those times we have had conversations, and some of those times, when you message me, it's it's right on time kind of, but it's sometimes when people speak to say us, right? We're coaches, we have clients. Sometimes it seems like we got it all together. Well, the fact of the matter is, it's never about having it figured out, right? It's about constantly figuring it out, and having the ability to abstain through that adversity and be resilient to continue to push forward, and this past year, I've learned so much of that. And you hear so often with speakers such as yourself talking about, you got to just, keep going. And once you keep going, you start to see, the results of that. So that's probably, something that I really push on. I like to say, through adversity, we build resiliency to achieve success. And, so it's good, man.
I love it. I love it. And for those of you that are still here on the podcast, even though he said burpee 27 times, right? I'm glad you're still here, right? Because if you've been listening to Coach Paul's podcast or any of my content, I talk about burpees all the time, right? And even in my classes, my group fitness classes, I have my members do burpees, and a lot of them hate burpees. And for a long time, I hated burpees too. But, burpees saved my life, right? I'm doing a TEDx talk in April. And I have a part of there where I talk about burpees, right? Because for me in prison, overcoming my mom's death, overcoming my stepdad's death, overcoming my wife leaving me, overcoming my heroin addiction, overcoming these drug debts that I got myself into, and my own homies wanting to stab the shit out of me because I had run up some dope debts and did some stupid shit. Overcoming these trials and tribulations, burpees are the one thing. And, for the people that I run with in prison, they make you do burpees when you're in trouble, right? And I got in a lot of trouble at one point. And so I was doing a lot of burpees, over 1,000 burpees a day, right? And what ended up happening was I developed a love for it. It started off, I hated this shit. Oh my God, I'm always in trouble. And I developed a love for it because every push-up, every kick, every step, every time I did a burpee, it pushed me one step closer, one burpee closer to becoming a better human being, right? And so I love that, it wasn't intentional that we both, love burpees. It just worked out that way. Right. And it's crazy because, I connect really well with a lot of people that have been in the military. That's why me and Zoom connected really well. And because a lot of people can compare being in prison and being in the military to being pretty similar. Right. And so there's a level of discipline that we develop in these situations, because you have to be disciplined to overcome those types of lifestyles or those situations, and thank you for sharing about you almost taking your life, bro. Like I didn't even know that, man, and I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that we're having this conversation. I've personally never tried to take my life, but I've got like over 20 scars on my arms from where I've cut myself, right?
Mm.
Like growing up, and like I hated myself so much, I would cut myself with razor blades and knives and even broken glass. I just did a video on this the other day for mental health awareness,
Mm.
and it's important, and like you and I are all muscular and tatted up doing burpees and look like these tough guys, but like, let's be real, like life sucks sometimes. Life is hard sometimes.
Right.
I'm just kind of bouncing back from a tough time myself, end of April was my mom's birthday. End of April was also my dad's birthday. Their birthdays are 2 days apart. Both of them have passed away. Right. And then there was Mother's Day. My mom, like she was my rock, and she passed away while I was in prison. Like I never got to say goodbye to her the right way, And then, I had some issues in my business. When businesses grow, there's growing pains. And sometimes growing pains means people that are in your business, in your life that you think were supposed to be there, they don't stay there. Right. And sometimes it's friendly and sometimes it's not. And it's sad to say, that as a human being, I have a purpose on this earth and I have a goal, and I'm not letting anyone slow that goal down. And if I have to like ruin friendships along the way because you're in my way or because we're not seeing eye to eye on how I want my purpose to be served, it sucks, And so I've been dealing with some bouts of depression myself, and then I got sick, right? I never get sick, but because I've been, my mentality's been so messed up, my emotions have been so crazy that when the sickness hit me, I knocked me down for like 9 days, man. And, I've been struggling, today I coached my 9 a.m. class, Luke. And it's the first day I felt like 100% all me. Like I was in those women's faces, like screaming, like, I'm back, like turned up. They're like, oh my God, Coach Paul's back. We're going to die. Right. But we had such a great class this morning, And,
yeah, it's awesome.
And that's because like you said, the perseverance,
right?
Because it would have been really easy for me to be like, you know what, man, and don't get me wrong, I've thought about quitting this shit. I've thought about, how much would it really cost me to bail on my lease for this building? And like it would probably cost me less than it cost me to pay for the building for the whole year. I've thought about like, oh man, I can't do this. I'm going to quit. I'm going to stop. I'm just going to go get a job, blah, 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 blah. But that perseverance and understanding that when we push through these hard times, it's so much better on the other side. So I'm hella grateful that you're still here. I'm hella grateful that, even as a soldier, you clearly didn't clean your gun properly or whatever the fuck was going on. But, I'm hella grateful for that shit, bro, because you're important to me, bro, and like, I don't say that lightly, and that's why, like, we're both busy men, right? We got things we're doing, but when you come to my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna go hit up Luke real quick. Like, we'll see what he's got going on, even like I was telling my girlfriend yesterday, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go I had these 2 speeches in Florida. I was like, I'm gonna see if Luke wants to come. She's like, babe, he's not gonna drive all the way down. He's like, he might. He did it for Ryan's thing. Like,
yeah,
you never know, bro. But
no
if
doubt.
I'm gonna be anywhere close to where you live, bro, I'm gonna let you know where I'm at, because
no doubt. Yeah, 100%. Like we already kind of talked about, I'm gonna do my best to. And to be honest with you, both of them, I think what you said was they're like a few days apart. So it'd be kind of silly for me to go to one and not both. That'd be kind of wild. So after I looked at the dates, how close they were, I'm like, well, I could definitely try to swing it. But like I said, I am starting a new position, and I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Yeah. But I will definitely do my best. I kind of would like a trip anyway, and to connect with you would always be good. Yeah. So what the heck? It's kind of like we talk about slipping up sometimes, right? Like with I'm now 3 years sober, and I know you've overcome some things over 3 years now, right? So that's a huge part of my life, right? Is overcoming that, and that when I quit drinking was when I split up with my now ex-fiance. After a long night of drinking, I blacked out and cracked my truck. And, I ended up coming back to the house, and she was all freaking out. It got physical. I don't really remember the rest of the night, but it completely broke me, and what I thought was the darkest time of my life really rebuilt me, because I have not had a drink since then. And that's really what turned, my life. Because at that point, I said to myself is I could either, okay, I'm single, I'm going to go sleep with a bunch of women, drink, do whatever I want. But I didn't even go on a date or anything with a woman for over 6 months. I really completely focused on, personal development from the early stages as to what I saw it, right? And just like reading books and, diving into the Bible. And, I spoke to a counselor a little bit. That really wasn't too effective. That just kind of pissed me off more, but that's besides the point. But, really started really getting more focused on that and trying to work on some of the internal challenges, and that's, that's an ongoing thing, stuff like that. Right. And like you talk about becoming a better you, it's not a destination. It's a constant revolving, circle that it's never ending. And, I think I heard Brad Reliant, right? I think recently I heard him say like, you have to recommit every day. So it's not like you have it figured out and then, oh, you're good. No, it's an everyday thing. And just like, we talked about, I haven't really slipped up with alcohol, but, sometimes mental health, that's a big thing. I've had sailors of mine, on deployments commit suicide. I got the IGY6 tattoo here, and that's a big thing on my heart, right? Mental health and stuff. So even sometimes when you're a big advocate of something or you are aware of something, life sometimes takes a hold. And, I truly believe that when people in life are on the verge or in the direction of success or leveling up, the devil, attacks us the most, right? So when we all start feeling that pressure, that's when we really need to dig in because, of course, right? So it's the people that really aren't putting that effort out there to amount or change or impact, the masses that might not have that pressure because, I truly believe it's an attack, in those situations. But, it is important that we surround ourselves with like-minded, not just men, but people, right? And ask for help, ask for support. And sometimes it's even just having a conversation. So again, I appreciate that we stay in contact across the country and going through different, types of things in life. So I am forever grateful for, having this friendship.
Yeah, likewise. And when you said the tough like things that when we're out to have like a breakthrough or have something major come up, we have something hard really comes first, right? And I was like, think about, I had this conversation with someone the other day, and they were telling me I'm okay with being where I'm at right now. And I don't get that. I don't fathom that. Like, I don't understand being okay with where you're at. Right. Like, this person was literally like, I don't want to lose weight. I'm okay with being overweight. I don't want to make more money. I'm okay with, struggling paycheck to paycheck. Like, they're okay with their life right now. Mm-hmm. And their life ain't amazing. Like, they've admitted to me multiple times that their life is not that great, but they're okay with it.
Right.
And that's because our society pushes mediocrity.
Right.
Our society pushes that it's okay to be mediocre. It's okay to barely get by. It's okay to, be overweight. It's okay to be sad and depressed all the time. Like, we all have moments because nobody is perfect, right? But too many people are okay with being stuck in those moments for long periods of time, right? And what I find happens is when you get stuck, and it boils down to a lot of people are afraid of the pain that comes before the next step, right? Because the pain comes before the level up, and they're afraid of the pain that comes before the level up. And because of that, they keep themselves such a low position in life that they never go into that pain. And so like with me, like I'm always pushing myself, like, how can I grow my business more? How can I help more people? How can I put myself out there more? And so I've been doing a lot of growth personally and within my business. And then a bunch of things happened and knocked me down for a little bit. And so most people were like, oh, I'm just not meant to do this, right? And don't get me wrong, the thought came into my head, I'm not meant to do this. I'm going to quit. I'm just going to stick with, I'm trying to do too much. I have a coach, a business coach. And I told him, I said, maybe I'm growing too fast. He's all, bro, No, you're growing faster than most people. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, bro, I work with a lot of other gyms. It's a company called Gym Launch. Alex Hermosi's company. They're helping me grow my business. And my coach is like, bro, I have like 30 other gyms that I talk to within a week. Bro, you're at like the top. You're growing at the top. Like there's other gyms that have been around longer. So of course, you're better than me. But growth wise, when we look at, numbers, we look at success, I'm fucking blasting, bro.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because I don't want to be mediocre.
Right.
I don't want to be like, oh, there's that one gym over there. Like, no, Coach Paul and the better you finish, bro, they be getting hella results and then will be turned up and be speaking engagements and like, I want motherfuckers to know who I am. I want people to be like, damn, okay.
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, you have to push through the pain.
Right.
And like I've seen you left and right. Like I've seen you kind of like you mentioned, falling off on your social media and stuff. And I've seen like, boom, you kind of like you fade out for a minute, like boom, all of a sudden he's just here like every day, like there he is, there he is, there he is. Right? And so like that's an amazing thing because that's that perseverance. Like it boils down to perseverance every time because you know what, man? Everybody's life is hard.
Right.
Everybody's lives have shitty moments. Everybody's life has moments where like this sucks, this is horrible, I hate this. Everybody's life. Nobody, even millionaires, billionaires, even people born in nice households, or nobody has a perfect life. People have things they're going through. But the people that succeed are the ones that take those things that they're going through, they walk through them, they face the pain face on, and then they move forward because they get to level up every time. And if you can level up every time, there's no stopping you.
100%. 100%. And that's a big thing, for me coming from the Navy and my life, right? So I've been around the Navy my whole life. I've had, my uncles were 30-year active duty Navy. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that. And you talk about how society kind of builds culture, right? And what we become to accept as the norm, right? Most people, and even myself, right? I was raised around, okay, that next pay grade, right? Or working in the prison and having a pension and that career, like that is success. Okay. Which I'm not knocking that. Right. But, probably within the past few years, really, life kind of opened my eyes to, such a bigger picture and really not even necessarily about, the monetization and the opportunity for other, income flows. But much more than that, it's about purpose, right? And truly living for impact versus just, living to work, right? And I've done that for so long. I've deployed multiple times overseas, and I've sacrificed so much of my time, energy, efforts away from, family, and I see so many people still kind of stuck to that. And to be honest with you, by all means, I'm not content where I'm at. I want to be way more, but I would rather go through those ups and downs, those trials and tribulations, and to learn the lessons through trial and error, right? Through failing forward, right? And continuing to try, but continuing to live for purpose. And oftentimes I talk to people and they're like, oh, what do you do for work? And for me, I don't work, right? I live. Right. I live my passion, and learning to, monetize off of that while helping people and, connecting with people. That's how I want to live. And am I actively and currently, where I want to be at in those different types of, avenues? No, but I will. Right. And just like, people like us, it's a thing that we have to kind of learn because we always have a list, right? We always work off of a list and goals, right? And it's important that we stay mindful of recognizing those small wins and the accomplishments along the way, because oftentimes it feels like it's never enough because there's always more. Now that's a gift and a curse, right? Yeah. You're always seeking more, but then you forget like, okay, well, I've accomplished this. Mm-hmm. Though you have another page of what's next, well, let's look at where you were. And that's a very challenging thing sometimes, when we, right, have that passion, that drive, and that vision to where we want to be, it's always going to be more, right? It's always going to be something more. It's always going to be, bigger impact. And that's really what it's about. So it is a challenge. And, just like you had mentioned, oftentimes, we got to cut the fat, right, from people in our lives, and that becomes challenging. And oftentimes, I think, misunderstood. I've had a lot of family and friends in my life really say to me, like, how do you just stop caring about people? Because I've pretty much cut ties with a lot of people in my family, especially becoming, sober and, living intentionally for purpose. I have really cut ties with a lot of people, not because I don't care about them, but everything is contagious, right? Effort, energy, and emotions. And if you're just not in alignment with the direction in which I want to go, or we're not actively kind of working towards something together, well, it's essentially, it will bring you down, right? Not intentionally. It's not like that person is intentionally trying to cause your life harm, or a delay in the progression that you're trying to make. But that's unfortunately, the truth. And, I have had to cut ties with a lot of people. And because of the ways that I choose to live, I've also had a lot of people in my life kind of, walk away from me. And to me, that's okay, right? That's the stuff that is going to happen. And through that consistency of living authentically, right, we will automatically align and attract and stay connected, with people, how we stay connected, as that all kind of comes to fruition.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite quotes is success leaves clues. Right. And so with that quote, success leaves clues, it tells us that if you want to be like someone that you see as successful in any area of their life, they're going to leave you clues. What they're talking about, what they're doing, their actions, their habits, their daily activities. If you mimic those, or you do the same things that they're doing, you're going to get the same results that they're doing as well. And
Right.
So what I found, right, is the deeper I go into entrepreneurship and building my business and building the life of my dreams, I lose a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know that everything I'm doing serves my purpose. And you talked about purpose and you talked about impact, right? And it reminds me of this situation that literally just happened. I literally just had someone yesterday tell me that they don't want to keep working here at my gym because I pushed them too hard. Okay. And so I had a conversation with my girlfriend about it last night. I was like, I don't think I push people too hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think I push people to their potential, because I don't push no one in my life as hard as I push myself.
Right.
And so then I told her, I said, babe, I don't want to be known as a coach that doesn't push people.
Right.
I don't want to be known as someone that doesn't push people past their own mindset blockers. She's like, I know you don't. I said, so I'm okay with losing a client, losing a member, losing a friend because I pushed them too hard, because I know all I was doing is trying to get them better.
Right.
And then today, literally the next day, I'm in class, and I hate the word try. If you say try around me, I'm going to call you on that shit. We don't try shit. You do or you don't. Right. You want to pick up 1,000 pounds, you don't try to pick it up. You either pick it up or you don't pick it up. That's it. Right? You want to push down a wall, you either push it down or you don't push it down. And so if my clients and my members say the word try and I hear them, I'm going to call them on it in class. That's just how I get down. Right. And they know that. I even have a poster of a Yoda that says, do or don't, there is no try, something like that. My boy, Master Yoda. And so one of my members who's been struggling with doing sit-ups, she goes, okay, I'll try to do it one day. Right. They were doing sit-ups with plates. And she's like, I'm going to try to do it one day. And I was like, not even in the room, but I heard it. My ears are just pricked up when I hear it. I was like, what'd you say? She's on the ground laying down, right? Standing like, what did you say? She's like, oh, I mean, I'm going to do it one day. I'll get there someday. I'll get there. And I was like, yeah, you will. Right. And then the music's going and they're working out. And I come back in that room, because we have like 3 different rooms. I come back in there and she's doing the sit-ups. Nice. She's doing them after she just thought she couldn't do them. Right. And so after class, there's a group of us after class. They were about to leave. We're all chopping it up, and she goes, Coach, I thank you for calling me on that. Thank you and she starts crying. She's like, I didn't think I could do it. And you told me I could do it. And you wouldn't let me say try. And then I ended up doing it. And I'm so happy. Oh my God. And she's crying. And all these other women are like, great work, Tammy, this and that. And that's the coach I want to be. Right. So if someone leaves my life because I pushed them too hard, but someone else that I pushed the same way could overcome their own mental barriers that was stopping them. Mm-hmm. This woman's in her 50s, trying to overcome her own mental barriers that life has given her because of the things she's been through. And I was able to walk her through that just off helping her change the word she was using. And by helping her do a simple thing as a sit-up. To me, that's simple. But for some people, they can't do sit-ups just yet. And if I can help them get there and get in that position where she did a sit-up and she was crying over it, I'd rather be the coach that'll call you on your shit and let you cry because you actually did it than be the coach that won't call you on your shit and let you cry because you can't do it because you've never actually been pushed hard enough to do it. Right. And that is purpose. That right there is the purpose I serve and the impact I can create on people's lives by being authentic. And you talked about that, like being authentic. And it's like, that's what it is, man. That's what it really boils down. And so even though you and I, we met on social media, right? Social media is great. We started chopping up and then we ended up in Miami. And even like we were sharing a hotel room in Miami, just kicking it, hitting the gym, lifting, did burpees, like big chilling for like 3 days straight. Like we've known each other our whole lives. And that's we're both authentic human beings. And like you said, that authenticity attracts people.
Absolutely. And words matter, and too many people, I think, underestimate how important that is, and it's a very important thing to focus on, right? Our thoughts, right? What we think and speaking positively about ourselves, because if we don't, cheer ourselves on, who else is going to, right? So how we think and how we speak, our actions and the habits we form is truly what will result in, the outcome, so that is a very important thing. And I think actually recently you made a post that talked about, I forget exactly how you worded it. You said something like, I might have some people that, hate on me or don't like the way I do things, but I have 90 more people out there that I've impacted and that I have helped. Right. And that is it right there, bro. Right. Because you can't, please everyone. Right. And not every, you could, you could lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink it, so, and that's okay. It's not for everybody. And sometimes it's challenging because, we want the best for everybody and we want to, help each other. But some people, it's not great, but that's okay, because even just sometimes, just small messages of gratitude from somebody, even just when they see, a post, that you share or something like that, that to me is just so cool, right? Even just random people that you don't even know that just hits you up and be like, that hit me. That's what does it for me. And that's, really what has been my encouragement to continue on with, this burpee challenge. Because for me, it's not about the burpees. It's about the message and how I'm doing it, right? So I really put a lot of thought into every caption, and how I write the caption, connecting it with, symbolism with how I do those burpees that day. And it's amazing. I'd say probably even every post I have somebody reach out to me and be like, you must have been reading my mind today or something. And every single day, that's God's plan, not mine. Because every single day I literally, I pray. And sometimes it's leading me to do the burpees very, very last minute at night. And I run into somebody that, needed somebody to talk to sometimes, so it's very, very, it's amazing, to see that type of things happen. They're very interesting.
I love it, brother. Well, man, we're kind of running out of time here. I love and appreciate you, Luke, bro. Like, you're just an amazing human being. Let the audience know where they can find you, where they can follow your Instagram, give your website, give all the information. And we'll also have it in the show notes as well, so you guys can find them there.
Yeah, no doubt. So again, hit me up Instagram at I am Wakemaker, or my website, wakemakerusa.com. Reach out, connect, plug in, and any way I can add value to your life, I would love to. Appreciate y'all.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Luke. And as always, to all the listeners, we appreciate your support of this podcast. The goal is to impact hundreds of thousands of lives, maybe even millions one day. And the only way we can do this is with your help. So please share this podcast with a friend. Give us a 5-star review if you like the podcast. And if you didn't like the podcast, I don't want to hear it, because I don't need no negativity in my life. I still love you either way. Make sure you hit me up on Instagram as well, _coach_Paul. As always, peace, love, and protein.